The last thing Pastor Eliza Morgan remembered clearly was the sound of the church bell. It rang once, slow, heavy, like metal striking bone. She had been locking the front doors of St. Matthew's Chapel, same as every Sunday night for the past 11 years. The parking lot was empty. The street lamps flickered. A cold wind moved across the gravel like something breathing. Nothing unusual, nothing wrong, just another quiet night. Yet something inside her chest felt tight. The kind of tightness you feel when you forget something important, but can't remember what. She checked her phone. 9:47 p.m. Too late to still be here. Go home. Eliza, she muttered to herself. You promised Mrs. Carter you'd rest tonight. Her hand trembled slightly as she slid the key into the old wooden doors. Click. Locked. She turned around, and the parking lot was gone. No cars. No streetlights. No road. No town. Just fog. Endless gray fog stretching in every direction. She blinked. Once. Twice. Her mind refused to accept what her eyes were seeing. Okay, this is stress, she whispered. You're just tired. She stepped forward. Her shoes didn't crunch on gravel anymore. They sank softly into something like damp soil. She looked down. Dirt. Fresh dirt. Like a cemetery. Her heartbeat started climbing. This wasn't right. This wasn't possible. She turned back to the church. It was still there, but different. Older. Paint peeling. Windows cracked. The cross hanging crooked like it had been abandoned for decades. No. She rushed to the doors and pulled. They groaned open. Inside, the air smelled wrong. Dust, mold, and something metallic, like old blood. The pews were broken. Hymn books scattered. Cobwebs in the corners. This wasn't her church. This looked like a building that had been forgotten for years. She stepped inside anyway, because where else could she go? Hello, she called. Her voice echoed strangely, too loud, too hollow. No answer. She walked down the aisle slowly. Every step sounded heavier than it should, like the floor didn't want her there. At the altar, the Bible lay open. Pages yellowed. She touched it, cold. Then she noticed something that made her stomach twist. Her name, written inside the cover, in her own handwriting. Property of Pastor Eliza Morgan. How? She flipped the pages. Dates were scribbled in the margins. Sermons, notes, prayers, all hers. But the dates, they were wrong. 20 years old, 30, some even older. That didn't make sense. She was only 37. Her breathing quickened. This isn't real. This isn't real. She pulled out her phone. No signal. Battery, 2%. Of course. She tried calling anyway. Nothing. The screen went black. Dead. Silence swallowed the room. Then, a creak. Behind her. She spun around. The pews were empty, but she could have sworn she heard footsteps. Slow. Dragging. Like someone walking with wet shoes. Eliza. The whisper was so faint she almost thought she imagined it. Her skin prickled. Who's there? No answer, but the air felt heavier now, like someone standing too close behind her, watching, judging. She backed toward the altar. Her foot hit something. A box. Old wooden donation box. She didn't remember it being there. She opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens. All addressed to her. The first one read, "You can't leave this time." Her fingers shook. She opened another. "You always try to go home." Another. "You always forget." Her throat tightened. Forget what? Then the church bell rang again. But it wasn't outside. It was inside her head. Loud. Painful. Like a memory trying to force its way out. And suddenly, a flash. She saw herself, standing at the same altar, crying, begging, praying, "Please, God, let me go home." But the memory wasn't from tonight. Her hair was longer, her clothes older, her face thinner, like she'd been trapped for weeks. "No," she whispered, "that's not me." But it was. Then another flash. Graves. Dozens of graves behind the church, all with names she recognized. Church members, friends, people she had baptized, married, buried. All dead, all buried here. But St. Matthew's didn't even have a cemetery. So how? Footsteps again. Closer now. She turned slowly. At the end of the aisle stood a figure. Tall, still, wearing black. A pastor's coat. Her coat. The figure's face was shadowed. But the posture. It was her. Like a mirror. But wrong. The copy tilted its head. Smiled. Eliza. It said softly. Same voice. Same tone. You're back again. Her heart nearly stopped. Back again. You never remember. Every time you try to leave. I don't understand. You died here. The words hit like a punch. No. Yes. The double took a step forward. You never made it home that night. No, I locked the church and... You had a stroke. Her knees weakened. You collapsed right there. Alone. No one found you for days. That's not true. But you didn't want to die, so you stayed. The air grew colder. This place became your loop, your prison, your unfinished prayer. Eliza shook her head violently. This is a nightmare. I'll wake up. You've said that before, too. Her double smiled sadly. Hundreds of times. Tears filled Eliza's eyes. If I'm dead, then why am I here? Because you can't accept it. Silence stretched between them. Then the double said something that shattered her completely. You're never going home. The words fell heavier than death. Because home wasn't just a house. It was Sunday dinners, her mother's laugh, the smell of coffee, her life, gone, forever. No, she whispered. There is no home left for you, the double said gently. Only this place, until you let go. The church bell rang again, and the fog outside thickened, like the world was closing in, like time itself had stopped breathing. Eliza fell to her knees. For the first time in her life, the pastor didn't know how to pray. And somewhere in the empty church, something else moved, watching, waiting, smiling, because this time she was starting to remember, and remembering was always the most painful part. Eliza stayed on her knees long after the bell stopped ringing, her palms pressed against the cold wooden floor. Her breath came in short, uneven pulls. Dead. The word kept circling her mind like a vulture. Dead, dead, dead. No, she whispered again, softer now, like the truth might hear her and grow stronger if she said it louder. The church was silent, too silent, not the peaceful kind she used to love during late-night prayers. This silence felt alive, listening, waiting for her to break. She forced herself to stand. If she stayed on the floor, she would lose herself. She had counseled hundreds of grieving people in this very building. She knew shock when she saw it, and right now, she was drowning in it. Think, she told herself. If you're dead, then why does everything feel real? Her heart still pounded. Her lungs still burned with cold air. She could still feel the splinter in her palm from the cracked pew. Pain meant life, didn't it? Eliza. The voice again. Soft. Behind her. She spun around. The other her still stood near the aisle, watching, not threatening, just patient, like a teacher waiting for a slow student to catch up. You said I died, Eliza said, forcing strength into her voice. Prove it. The double tilted her head slightly. You really want to see? Yes. A long pause. Then the figure stepped aside and pointed toward the back door of the church. Come with me. Every instinct screamed not to follow. But staying felt worse. At least answers were outside. So she walked, slowly, every step echoing louder than it should. When she passed the broken pews, she noticed something new. Carvings, names scratched into the wood. Dozens of them. Some familiar. Mrs. Carter, Jacob Hill, Emily Saunders. All members of her congregation. But under each name were dates. Dates that hadn't happened yet. That's impossible, she muttered. They are not future, the double said quietly. They are finished. What does that mean? It means time doesn't work here the way you think. Eliza's stomach twisted. You're saying they are dead too. Everyone who ever belonged to you eventually ends up here. The words chilled her deeper than the fog outside. Belonged to you, like she had dragged them here somehow. That's not true, she said sharply. I help people. I save people. Did you? The question stung. Yes. Or did you just comfort them while life carried them to the same end anyway? That's not fair. Death isn't fair. They reached the back door. The wood looked swollen and rotten, like it had absorbed years of rain. Eliza grabbed the handle. Cold. She hesitated. What's out there? She asked. Memory. The double replied. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Eliza pushed the door open. The fog rushed in like breath from a giant lung. Cold. Wet. Heavy. The cemetery stretched endlessly behind the church. Rows and rows of crooked headstones disappearing into gray nothingness. Her legs nearly gave out. I don't remember this, she whispered. You never do at first. She stepped forward anyway. Gravel crunched under her shoes now. Real gravel. Real earth. Not that soft soil from before. Her eyes scanned the stones. Names everywhere. People she had buried. People she had married. Kids she had baptized. All here. All gathered around this church like they had never left. Like they were waiting. This is wrong, she said. This is guilt. My brain is making this up. Then keep walking, the double said. If it's fake, it will fall apart. So she walked, row after row, each step heavier, until she saw it. A stone slightly newer than the others. Cleaner, untouched by moss, like it hadn't been here long. Her heart started racing. No, she breathed. No, no. She already knew, before she even read it. She knew. She approached slowly, like the letters might bite. Then she saw the name carved deep into the granite. Eliza Morgan, 1978 to 2025. Beloved pastor, faithful servant, called home. Her knees buckled. She collapsed in front of it. Her own grave, her own death date. Last week. That's not possible, she gasped. I just locked the church tonight. The double knelt beside her. You didn't. Yes, I did. You remember locking the doors because that's the last memory your mind clings to. It's safer than what really happened. Then what happened? She cried. Tell me. The world around them darkened slightly, like a storm cloud passing overhead. The air grew thick. You collapsed in the sanctuary, the double said gently. Aneurysm. Quick. No pain. You fell between the pews. Eliza shook her head violently. No. You tried to crawl to your phone. Stop. Your vision blurred. Stop. You prayed for help. Please stop. No one heard you. Tears streamed down her face. 3 days later, Mrs. Carter found you. Her chest hurt like something was crushing it. You were already cold. Silence. Only wind. Only fog. Only the truth. I don't want that, she whispered. I know. I didn't even say goodbye to anyone. I know. I didn't finish anything. I know. Her voice broke. I was supposed to go home that night. The double looked at her with something like pity. You keep saying that. Because it's true. No, the double said softly. Home isn't a place anymore. Eliza stared at her own name carved in stone. Her life reduced to 2 dates and a sentence. That couldn't be it. That couldn't be everything. I refuse, she said. The double frowned. Refuse what? I refuse to stay here. I refuse to accept this. God wouldn't trap me in some loop like this. That's not heaven. That's not mercy. Maybe it's not God, the double said quietly. Eliza looked up. What do you mean? Before she could answer, the bell rang again. But this time, it wasn't coming from the church. It was coming from underground, from beneath the graves, a low metallic toll, like something buried was hitting iron, over and over. Clang, clang, clang. The earth trembled slightly. Eliza's skin crawled. What is that? The double's expression changed for the first time. Fear, real fear. That's new, she whispered. What's new? It's never rung from below before. The ground near the graves began to crack, tiny splits forming in the soil, like something was trying to push upward. Eliza stumbled back. Tell me what that is. The double grabbed her arm. Run. What? Run. They sprinted back toward the church as the bell grew louder. Clang, clang, clang. Date burst upward behind them. Grave shaking. Headstones tilting. Something was waking up. Something that didn't belong to her memories. Something older. Hungrier. As they reached the church steps, Eliza glanced back and saw a hand, gray, rutting, forcing its way out of the ground. Then another, and another, dozens, maybe hundreds, the dead clawing their way up, not peaceful, not sleeping, awake, and reaching for her. They slammed the church doors shut. Eliza pressed her back against the wood, shaking violently. "That's not my guilt," she said breathlessly. "That's not my mind." "No," the double whispered. "Then what is it?" The bell rang one last time, so loud the windows cracked. Then silence. The double looked straight into her eyes. "If you really are dead," she swallowed, "then something else is living here with us." And for the first time since waking in this nightmare, Eliza realized something far worse than never going home. She might not be alone in the afterlife. For several seconds, neither of them moved. The doors shook once, then stopped. Silence returned so suddenly it felt unnatural, like the world had been muted. Eliza's hand still clutched the handle. Her knuckles were white. Her heart hammered so hard she could hear the blood rushing in her ears. "What were those things?" she whispered. Her double didn't answer immediately. That scared her more than anything. "You said this place was my memory," Eliza continued. "My guilt, my loop. But that—" She pointed toward the doors. "That wasn't memory." "No," the double said quietly. "That wasn't grief either." "No. Then what is it?" The double finally looked at her. "For a long time, this place was only you." Eliza frowned. "Only me. Your denial, your unfinished prayers, your need to go home. That's what built this version of the church. The cemetery, the nights repeating. So it's all in my head." "Not exactly." "Then explain it to me." Her voice cracked louder than she intended. The sound echoed through the empty sanctuary. She forced herself to breathe slower. She was a pastor. She had sat with families during deathbeds. She had guided people through panic attacks. She should be able to handle this. But it was different when the funeral was your own. When people die, the double said slowly, most move on. Some linger. Fear, regret, anger, those things anchor them. They stay close to places they loved. Eliza swallowed. "Ghosts, if you want to call them that. And me. You didn't linger. Then what did I do?" The double's eyes softened. "You built a cage." Those words hit harder than any horror outside. "A cage?" "You refused to accept you were gone. So your mind, your soul, whatever this is, recreated the last place you remembered feeling useful, needed, safe." "The church?" Eliza whispered. "Yes." The broken pews, the altar, the old Bible. It wasn't punishment. It was comfort, twisted comfort, like a child hiding under blankets during a storm. "But if it's just me," she said slowly, "why are there graves? Why are there those things outside? That's what worries me." The double stepped away from the door and walked down the aisle. Eliza followed. Every shadow now felt deeper. Every creak sounded like breathing. For years, maybe longer than years, you repeated the same night. The double continued. Lock the doors. Step outside. Fog. Return. Forget. Repeat. How many times? I stopped counting after 100. Eliza felt dizzy. 100 times I've died. 100 times you've woken up here. That's worse. They reached the altar again. The Bible still lay open, but now the pages were fluttering, even though there was no wind. Something changed tonight, the double said. "The bell," Eliza whispered. "Yes, and those things underground." Eliza hugged herself. Cold crawled through her bones. Maybe they are just more souls, lost like me. The double shook her head slowly. "No, why not?" "Because souls don't claw their way out of graves." Silence. They felt wrong. she continued. Heavy, hungry, like animals. Animals don't ring church bells. Exactly. A shiver ran down Eliza's spine. So what are you saying? The double looked toward the ceiling, toward the old bell tower above them. I think something noticed you. Noticed me? Yes. How? When you finally looked at your grave, when you started remembering, you changed. Changed how? You stopped pretending. Eliza frowned. And that matters because this place feeds on denial. The words dropped like stones. What do you mean, feeds? I don't know exactly, the double admitted. But every time you forgot, everything stayed quiet. Still, empty. And now? Now you're waking up. A loud crack echoed somewhere in the church walls, like wood splitting. Eliza flinched. So something doesn't like that, she whispered. The double nodded. They stood in uneasy silence. Then Eliza noticed something strange. The church wasn't as broken as before. She blinked. A pew near the front looked newer. Less dust. Less rut. Do you see that? She asked. Yes, the double said. It's changing. The walls looked straighter. The paint less peeled. The stained glass brighter. Like the building was repairing itself. Or reverting. To what? Eliza muttered. Not repairing, the double said softly. Then what? Remembering. A sudden chill ran through her. Then, footsteps. Inside. Both of them froze. That's not me, the double whispered. I know. The sound came from the hallway near the offices. Slow. Dragging. Step. Scrape. Step. Scrape. Like wet shoes on tile. Exactly like she'd heard earlier. But now it was louder, closer. Someone, or something, was inside the church with them. Eliza's throat dried instantly. Maybe it's just another version of me, she said weakly. No, the double said. You don't walk like that. The footsteps stopped. Then a faint voice, mumbling, like someone praying underwater. Help me, please, help. Eliza's heart twisted. That sounds like... You... The double finished. It was her voice. Her exact voice. Desperate. Crying. Anyone, please. Her stomach dropped. That's what you sounded like when you died, the double said quietly. I don't want to hear this. You need to. The hallway darkened. Shadows thickening like ink spreading in water. Then she saw it. A figure crawling out from the corridor. Not walking. Crawling. Dragging itself forward. One arm useless, body twisted wrong, clothes soaked dark, like dry blood, its head lifted slowly, and Eliza saw her own face, but gray, lips blue, eyes cloudy, the version of her that never got up, the version that died alone on the church floor. She couldn't breathe. That's me, she whispered. Yes, the double said softly. That's a truth you keep hiding from. The crawling figure reached toward her. Help. Me. Her chest shattered. Every instinct screamed to run. But something stronger held her in place. Compassion. Even now. Even for herself. I left you, she whispered. You didn't leave, the double said. You became her. The broken version dragged itself closer. Fingers scraping wood, leaving dark streaks behind. Cold, so cold. Tears flooded Eliza's eyes. I was scared, she said. I didn't want to die. No one does, the double replied. The crawling version reached her feet, grabbed her ankle, ice cold, like touching a corpse, which it was. Help me, it begged again. And suddenly, Eliza understood. She wasn't being haunted. She wasn't trapped. She was split. One part clinging to denial, one part stuck in the moment of death, one part trying to move on, all of them fighting each other. I'm sorry, she whispered, kneeling down. She took the cold hand. It hurt to touch, but she didn't let go. I'm here now. The broken version looked up at her, tears in dead eyes. Don't leave me alone. I won't. The church trembled. Somewhere outside, something roared. Not human, not animal. Something ancient, angry, like it didn't want this reunion. The The double looked toward the doors. It doesn't like this, she said. Who doesn't? But before she could answer, the lights above flickered. The bell began ringing again. Faster, violent, and the front doors started shaking like something massive was slamming into them from the outside. Boom, boom, boom. Wood cracking. Hinges screaming. Whatever was out there, it wasn't done waiting. It was coming in. The first slam against the church doors sounded like a car crash. Boom. Dust rained down from the ceiling beams. Eliza flinched so hard her teeth clacked together. The broken version of herself still clung to her ankle, cold fingers digging into her skin like ice. The double stepped backward slowly, eyes fixed on the entrance. That's not like the others, she whispered. Boom. Another hit. Harder. The wood splintered near the hinges. Something massive was outside, not scratching, not clawing, ramming, like it wanted the whole building to collapse. What is that? Eliza shouted. I don't know, the double said, voice tight, but it's Sithery before. You said this place was mine. It was. Boom. The doors bent inward. A crack split down the middle. Fog began seeping through like breath through teeth. The crawling version of Eliza whimpered. Don't let it take me. Her voice sounded small, childlike. Eliza's heart twisted painfully. I won't, she said again, though she had no idea how. Think. She was a pastor, a woman of faith. She had spent her whole life telling people God protected them. So why did she feel so powerless now? Help me stand, the broken version whispered. Eliza hesitated only a second, then slid her arms under her own corpse self-shoulders. Cold soaked through her sleeves instantly, like holding winter itself. She pulled. It was heavier than expected. Dead weight. Literal dead weight. The double rushed over and grabbed the other side. Together they lifted her. For a moment, Eliza had the strange, horrifying image of carrying her own body at her own funeral. We can't just stay here, Eliza gasped. No, the double said. If it breaks the doors. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Boom. A long splinter tore free. Something outside exhaled. A low, guttural sound. Not breathing. Growling. Like rocks grinding together. The church lights flickered again. Then steadied. But now they were dimmer. Sickly yellow. The shadows stretched longer. Wrong. Everything felt wrong. Where do we go? Eliza asked. The double looked toward the side hallway. The offices. There's a stairwell to the old bell tower. It might slow it down. Slow it down. Eliza said, we just need time. For what? For you to accept the truth. Eliza stared at her. You think acceptance stops that thing. I think denial feeds it. Another slam. This time the doors burst halfway open. Fog poured inside like floodwater. And for just a second, Eliza saw something massive shift behind the mist. Tall. Too tall. Its head nearly level with the top of the doorway. No clear shape. Just darkness moving inside darkness. Her stomach dropped. That's not a soul, she whispered. No, the double said. It isn't. They hurried down the hallway, half carrying, half dragging the broken version between them. The corridor felt longer than before. Doors lining both sides. Office plaques hanging crooked. Pastor study. Counseling room. Storage. Familiar, but distorted. Like a dream trying to copy reality and getting details wrong. The lights above buzzed. Eliza, the broken one, muttered weakly. I'm here, she said. I was so scared. I know. I called out. Her throat tightened. I know. No one came. The words sliced deeper than anything, because they were true. She had died alone, after spending her entire life promising people they were never alone. Guilt flooded her chest. Heavy, suffocating. The hallway darkened further. The air grew colder. The double glanced back. It's following. How? It's not walking. What do you mean? The walls behind them began to rot. Literally rot. Paint peeling. Wood blackening. Like decay spreading toward them. Fast. Like time itself was aging the building. Chasing them. It moves through the church, the double said. Through your memories. Corrupting them. So what do we do? Keep moving. They reached the stairwell door. The metal handle rattled as Eliza yanked it open. They stumbled inside and slammed it shut. Immediately the sound outside muffled. Only faint groaning would remain. They climbed, step by step. The broken version struggled to walk, each step shaky. "Sorry," she murmured. "Stop apologizing," Eliza said, tears running down her face. "You didn't do anything wrong. You left me. I didn't know how to stay." Neither did I, she thought. The stairs creaked with every footstep. Up and up and up. The air grew thinner, colder, until they finally reached the top, the bell tower. Moonlight filtered through cracked windows, dust floating like snow. The giant church bell hung above them, rusted and old. The rope swayed slightly, but no wind blew. Eliza stared at it. "This bell," she said slowly. "It rings every time something changes," the double replied. "Or every time you remember." The broken version whispered weakly. Eliza looked at her. "You remember too." A faint nod. "I'm the moment you died. I never stopped remembering." Her chest ached. The double stepped closer to the bell. "Maybe it's connected. Maybe it anchors this place." "To me?" "Yes." Eliza stepped forward, touched the rope. Cold. Everything here was cold. "What happens if I ring it?" she asked. "I don't know," the double said. "But something out there doesn't want you waking up." Below them, crash! The main doors finally gave way, with exploding inward. A roar filled the church. Deep, ancient, hungry. Eliza froze. Footsteps echoed below. Heavy, each one shaking the building. Not rushing. Walking. Slow. Confident. Like it knew they had nowhere to go. "It's coming," the double whispered. The broken version clutched Eliza's hand desperately. "Don't let it take me back." "Back where?" "The dark, where I was waiting." Her heart shattered. All those days. Alone. Cold. Calling for help. If there was even the smallest chance she could save herself. She had to try. "Eliza," the double said urgently, "if you ring it, you have to accept everything. No lies. No denial. Or it won't work. And if it doesn't work, then we face whatever that thing is together." Heavy steps on the stairs below. Thud, thud, thud. Closer. Each one louder. The stairwell door shook. Dust falling from the ceiling. Eliza grabbed the rope with both hands. Closed her eyes. Her whole life flashed through her mind. Every sermon. Every wedding. Every funeral. Every lonely night. Every doubt she never admitted. "God," she whispered, voice trembling. "I spent my whole life telling people not to be afraid of death." The door below dented inward. Thud. But I was terrified. Another hit. Thud. I didn't want to leave my church, my people, my home. Cracks spread through the wood. And I think I trapped myself because I couldn't let go. Tears streamed down. "I'm tired." Her voice broke completely. So tired. One last slam. The door burst open. Darkness spilling up the stairs. Something massive climbing toward them. She pulled the rope. The bell rang. Loud. Deafening. The entire tower shook. Light burst outward. And for the first time, Eliza didn't pray to go home. She prayed to let go. The bell sound didn't fade. It expanded. It swallowed everything. The air. The walls. Even her thoughts. For one endless second, Eliza couldn't see, couldn't hear anything except that single metallic cry shaking the world apart. The rope burned in her palms as the bell kept ringing, though she had stopped pulling. It rang on its own, like something far bigger than her had grabbed hold of it. The tower trembled violently. Dust and splinters rained down. Below them, the stairwell filled with darkness. Not shadow, not absence of light. Something thicker, something alive. It crawled upward like oil spilling over steps. And inside it, shapes moved. Wrong shapes. Too long, too bent, too many joints. The sound it made wasn't footsteps anymore. It was dragging, scraping, wet, like meat pulled across stone. The broken version of Eliza screamed. The double stepped in front of them both. "Keep ringing it," she shouted. "I'm not touching it." Eliza yelled back. The bell was moving by itself now, swinging harder and harder. Clang, clang, clang. Each strike sent visible ripples through the air, like shock waves through water. And wherever those waves passed, the church changed. The walls straightened. The rot vanished. The dust lifted. For brief flashes, she saw St. Matthew's the way it used to be. Bright, warm, alive, candles lit, sunlight through stained glass, children laughing, voices singing hymns, memories, pure ones, not twisted, not broken. The darkness on the stairs recalled every time the sound hit it, like it burned. It's hurting it. Eliza cried. Yes, the double said, because it can't survive truth. What truth? Yours. Another shockwave blasted outward, and suddenly, Eliza wasn't in the tower anymore. She was standing inside the sanctuary, but not the ruined one, the real one. Sunday morning light pouring through windows, fresh flowers near the altar, the smell of coffee and old wood polish. Her church, alive, voices echoed, people filling pews, smiling, laughing, past Eliza. She turned. Mrs. Carter waved at her, Jacob adjusting the sound system, little Emily running down the aisle with crayons. All of them alive, all of them warm. Her chest tightened painfully. I missed you, she whispered. They didn't answer. They didn't even look at her again, because it wasn't them. It was memory, frozen. She walked slowly through them, like a ghost. No one noticed. Of course they didn't. She wasn't part of this moment anymore. Then the memory shifted. Night, empty, same sanctuary, same pews. She saw herself, the real her, locking up, rubbing her temples, looking tired, so tired. Eliza, she whispered, watching herself. The memory has stumbled, hand gripping the pew, phone slipping from her fingers. Then she collapsed, hard. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Eliza gasped. No, please, get up. Memory had tried. She rolled onto her side, reached for the phone, fingers shaking, vision blurry, crawling, so slow, so helpless. Help, memory her whispered, the same voice she had heard in the hallway. Raw, terrified, Eliza felt her knees beside her own dying body. I'm here, she cried. I'm right here. But she couldn't touch her, couldn't help, couldn't change anything. Memory had dragged herself forward another inch, then stopped, breathing heavy, then slower, then, still. The silence that followed was unbearable. No music, no voices, just the hum of lights, and her body lying alone between the pews. 3 days. She stayed there 3 days. The realization crushed her chest. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry you were alone. The world flickered again, the bell still ringing somewhere far away. The memory cracked like glass, and the darkness seeped in, not from the doors, from everywhere, the floor, the walls, the ceiling, like ink drowning the room. Then she saw it clearly for the first time. The thing, it didn't have one shape. It kept shifting, like smoke trying to pretend it had bones, sometimes tall and thin, sometimes wide and crawling, sometimes full of faces pressing outward from inside it, faces screaming silently, hands reaching. Trapped. What are you? She whispered. It didn't speak, but she understood anyway. It wasn't death. It wasn't God. It wasn't punishment. It was something that lived between, something that fed on stuck souls, on fear, on denial, on people who couldn't move on. And she had been feeding it for years. Every loop, every time she said, I'm not dead, every time she tried to go home. It kept her here, kept her confused, kept her repeating, because as long as she stayed lost, it could feed. You used me, she whispered. The thing rippled, almost smiling. You don't get to keep me anymore, she said, voice shaking but stronger. The darkness lashed toward her, like tendrils, wrapping around her arms, cold, burning, pulling her backward, back toward the fog, back toward the graves, back toward forgetting. No, she screamed, and suddenly 2 hands grabbed her, the double on one side, the broken version on the other. We're not separate, the double said firmly. We're you, the broken one whispered. Stop fighting yourself. Eliza looked at them both, one representing denial, one representing death. Both parts of her, both suffering, because she wouldn't accept the truth. Tears poured freely. I was scared, she said. We know, they replied together. I didn't want to die alone. You weren't alone. I am now. No, the double said gently. You have us. Understanding hit her like lightning. They weren't fragments. They weren't ghosts. They were her. All of her. If she kept splitting, the thing would always have a crack to crawl through. But if she accepted everything, there would be no gap left, no fear left to feed on. She squeezed both their hands. I'm ready, she whispered. The darkness tightened, screeching, angry, like an animal losing its prey. But she didn't fight anymore. She didn't deny. She didn't beg to go home. She simply said the words she had avoided since the beginning. I died. The church shook. The darkness screamed. I was afraid. More cracks of light spread through the void. I didn't want to leave. The tendrils weakened. But it's okay. The bell rang one last time. Clear. Beautiful. I accept it. And the moment she said that, the thing let go, like it had nothing left to grab. Light exploded outward. Warm. Golden. Gentle. Not burning. Not frightening. Just peaceful. The double smiled at her. The broken version stood straighter, color returning to her skin. We can go now, they said softly. Eliza took a shaky breath. Go where? But deep down, for the first time, she wasn't afraid to find out. The light didn't blind her. It warmed her. After everything cold, the fog, the church, the graves, the thing in the dark, the warmth felt unreal, like stepping into sunlight after years underground. Eliza closed her eyes and let it soak into her skin. For the first time since waking in that broken version of St. Matthew's, her body didn't ache. Her chest didn't feel tight. Her thoughts weren't racing. It was quiet, not the heavy, listening silence from before. A soft quiet, the kind that comes after crying too long. The double still held her right hand. The once broken version held her left. But their grips were changing, less desperate, more gentle. Like they didn't need to hold her up anymore. She opened her eyes slowly. The church around them was whole, not the ruined one, not the distorted one, the real St. Matthew's. Sunlight through stained glass, blue and red colors dancing across the floor, fresh wood, polished pews, hymn numbers neatly arranged on the board. Everything exactly the way she remembered it on her very first day as pastor. You fixed it, she whispered. No. The double said softly, You did. The broken version smiled. You stopped breaking it. Eliza looked at them both. They didn't look separate anymore. The double's features were softer. The broken one wasn't gray or wounded. They both simply looked like, just calmer. Oh, so what happens now? She asked. They exchanged a look she didn't understand. Then the double said, We don't stay. Her heart skipped. Even though she had accepted death, even though she had said the words, a small part of her still clung to this place. This church had been her entire life. Every wedding, every baptism, every prayer whispered at midnight. If we leave, she said quietly, does all of this disappear? It already has, the broken one replied gently. Eliza frowned. What do you mean? The double stepped toward the pews and ran her fingers across the wood. Her hand passed straight through. Like mist, Eliza's breath caught. She tried the same. Her fingers sank into the pew like water. No resistance. This isn't the real church anymore, the double said. It's just the last picture your soul was holding on to. A memory, nothing more. Eliza looked around again. Now she could see it. The edges of the room shimmered slightly, like paint on glass. Not solid, never solid. So even if I stayed, she whispered, it wouldn't really be home. No, they said together. That word hurt more than anything else, because it meant the truth she had avoided from the very beginning. There was no going back, no unlocking the doors, no walking to her car, no driving home, no tomorrow morning. That life was finished. Completely. She expected panic, screaming, denial, but none came. Just sadness, soft and heavy, like rain. I didn't get to say goodbye, she said. You don't always get to, the broken one replied. I didn't finish my work. No one ever does, the double said with a small smile. She let out a weak laugh. That's comforting and cruel at the same time. That's life, the double said. They started walking down the aisle together, slowly, like the end of a service. Eliza looked at every detail as they passed. The cross, the candles, the old piano Mrs. Carter never played quite right, each one glowing faintly, already fading. What about the thing? She asked suddenly. The darkness, the one feeding on me. Gone, the double said, just like that. It only existed because you were trapped, because you were split. So there aren't monsters waiting out there. The broken one smiled gently. Only the ones we create when we're afraid. Eliza breathed out. She didn't realize how tightly she'd been holding that fear until now. They reached the front doors. Sunlight poured through the glass. Bright, inviting, not the cold fog from before. Real light, warm light. What's outside? She asked quietly. Neither of them answered right away. Finally, the double said, We don't know. That surprised her. You don't know? No one really does. Then how do you know it's safe? The broken one squeezed her hand. Because you're not afraid anymore. That's simple. That terrifying. That beautiful. Eliza laughed softly. All my life I told people to trust God. She looked at the doors. Guess it's my turn. Her hand reached for the handle. This time, it wasn't cold. It was warm. She paused. One more thing, she said. Both versions of her looked at her. Thank you, she whispered, for not giving up on me. They smiled. We are you, they said. Exactly. She opened the doors. Light swallowed everything. Not violently, not painfully, just gently, like stepping into a summer morning. The church dissolved behind her. The floor vanished beneath her feet. She wasn't falling, wasn't floating, just moving forward, weightless. For a moment, there was nothing, no sound, no sight, just peace. Then, voices, faint, familiar, laughing, calling her name. Pastor Eliza. Her heart jumped. She turned toward the sound. Shapes forming in the brightness. People, dozens of them, smiling, warm. Mrs. Carter, Jacob, little Emily, members of her church who had passed years ago. All here, all alive in a way that didn't hurt. No sickness, no age, just light. Tears filled her eyes again. But these didn't burn. They felt clean. You took your time, Mrs. Carter teased gently. Eliza laughed through tears. Sorry, had some trouble letting go. We noticed, Jacob said with a grin. They surrounded her, not grabbing, not trapping, just welcoming, like family, like home. And for the first time since this whole nightmare began, the word home didn't mean a building, or a street, or a door. It meant this. Belonging, peace. She looked back once, half expecting to see the church again, but there was nothing behind her, only light, only forward, and strangely, she didn't feel like she was losing anything anymore. She felt lighter, like she had finally put down a weight she didn't know she was carrying. Mrs. Carter offered her a hand. Ready, Pastor. Eliza smiled, a real smile, the kind she used to give at baptisms. Yeah, she said softly. I think I finally am. And together, she stepped forward into the light. The light didn't end. Eliza had expected something dramatic, trumpets, thunder, some grand heavenly gate opening. But instead, it felt simple, soft, like stepping through a doorway into another room. The brightness slowly settled into color. Shapes sharpened. Ground formed beneath her feet again. Grass, warm sunlight on her skin. A breeze that carried the scent of fresh rain and wildflowers. She blinked a few times. When her vision cleared, she realized she wasn't floating anymore. She was standing on a small hill. Rolling green fields stretched endlessly in every direction. Not empty, not lonely, peaceful, The sky above was wide and impossibly blue, painted with slow-moving white clouds that looked close enough to touch. The air felt alive, clean. Every breath filled her lungs deeper than any breath she'd ever taken before. It didn't feel like air. It felt like relief. Mrs. Carter stood beside her, smiling. "So," she said playfully, "what do you think?" Eliza turned slowly in a circle. "It's quiet." "Not the scary kind," Jacob said, appearing behind her. "The good kind." She nodded. He was right. No tension. No waiting. No fear hiding in corners. Just calm. For years she'd told grieving families, they're in a better place. She'd said it because she believed it, but she had never truly known what that meant. Now she did. Better didn't mean bigger. It meant lighter. She looked down at herself. Her clothes had changed. No longer the dark pastor's coat or tired work shoes. Now she wore something simple, soft, comfortable, like something she'd wear on a lazy Sunday afternoon. Her hands looked younger, too. The constant faint ache in her joints was gone. The old stress lines on her skin had vanished. She didn't feel 37. She didn't feel any age at all. She just felt like herself, the version before exhaustion, before responsibility weighed everything down, before night spent worrying about everyone else. "How long have you all been here?" she asked. Mrs. Carter chuckled. "Oh, honey, you'll learn fast. Time doesn't behave the way you're used to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one that makes sense," Jacob added with a shrug. Eliza frowned slightly. "So, days don't pass." "They do," Emily said, running past with a bright laugh. "But not like clocks." Eliza watched her chase butterflies across the field. No inhaler, no sickness, no weakness. Just a kid, healthy and glowing. Her chest tightened again, but this time with gratitude, not grief. "So what do we do here?" Eliza asked. Mrs. Carter smiled gently. "Whatever brings peace." That's it. That's it. No duties, no jobs, no missions. "After everything you carried down there," Jacob said, "don't you think you deserve rest?" Rest. The word felt foreign. She couldn't remember the last time she had truly rested. Even on vacations, she'd worried about church emails, hospital visits, bills, sermons. Someone always needed her. But hey, no one needed anything. They simply existed. Together. Oh, still, a small habit lingered. "But if nobody needs me, what's my purpose?" she asked quietly. Mrs. Carter stepped closer. "Maybe you were never meant to carry everyone's weight alone in the first place." Eliza opened her mouth to argue, then stopped, because maybe she had. Maybe she had tried to save everyone so hard that she forgot she was human too. Forgot she could break. Forgot she could die. Maybe that was why letting go had been so hard. She had tied her entire identity to being needed. And without that, who was she? As if sensing her thoughts, Jacob pointed ahead. "Come on, there's something you should see." They started walking down the hill together. The grass brushed against her legs. Warm, real. Every step felt effortless. No gravity dragging her down. Just movement. They reached the bottom of the hill where a small path curved between trees. The leaves shimmered softly like they were catching light from somewhere deeper than the sun. Birds sang. Not chaotic noise. Almost like music. Harmony. "This place," she said slowly, "it doesn't feel like a city or heaven with gates or anything." Mrs. Carter laughed. "Why would it?" "I guess I expected something more biblical. Clouds and hops." Jacob teased. "Something like that." "Maybe God knows we get bored," he said. She smiled. "Maybe." The path opened into a wide clearing, and Eliza stopped walking. Her breath caught. In the center of the clearing stood something she never expected to see again. St. Matthew's Chapel. Not broken, not abandoned, not a memory, but alive. Fresh paint, bright windows, flowers blooming outside. The same little building she had loved for years. Her church. Perfect. She stared at it like it might disappear. "You rebuilt it," she whispered. Mrs. Carter shook her head. "You did." "I didn't." "Every soul carries pieces of what they loved most," Jacob said. Sometimes those pieces take shape. Eliza's heart swelled painfully. So this is yours, Mrs. Carter said gently. She stepped toward it slowly, hands trembling. The front doors were open, warm light spilling out, and inside, voices, soft laughter, music. She stepped through the doorway. The sanctuary looked exactly how it used to on the happiest Sundays, but fuller. People she hadn't seen in years. Members who had passed long ago, all talking, smiling, alive. When they noticed her, the room brightened even more. Pastor, Miss Morgan, you finally made it. They rushed toward her, hugging, laughing, welcoming her like she'd just come back from a long trip. Not death, just a journey. Her eyes blurred with tears again. I thought I'd never see you all again, she whispered. You worry too much, Mrs. Carter said warmly. Some habits don't die easy, Eliza replied. They laughed together. For the first time since everything began, there was no fear hiding behind the laughter, no ticking clock, no shadow waiting at the door. Just joy, pure, simple. And then she realized something quietly beautiful. She wasn't the pastor here, not the leader, not responsible for anyone's pain. She was just Eliza, a person, a soul among other souls, equal, free, and strangely, that felt better than any title she had ever carried. She walked to the front of the sanctuary and looked out over everyone. They weren't waiting for a sermon. They weren't expecting anything. They were just happy she was there. And for once, that was enough. She smiled softly. I guess I really am home, she whispered. But deep inside, she also knew something else. This wasn't the end of her story. It was just a first day without fear. And for the first time in forever, she couldn't wait to see what tomorrow felt like. For a long time, Eliza simply stood near the entrance of the chapel and watched everyone. She didn't speak, didn't move much. She just watched. People she had buried years ago were laughing together near the piano. Mrs. Carter and two elderly women were arguing cheerfully about hymn choices. Emily was drawing something on the floor with colored chalk that seemed to glow instead of smudge. It all felt so normal, so gentle. No one crying. No hospital calls, no emergencies, no late-night phone ringing with bad news, just peace. The strange thing was how natural it felt. She had expected heaven, if this was heaven, to feel foreign, bigger, overwhelming. But this felt like slipping back into a favorite memory, like the safest day of her childhood, like home-cooked food after a long trip, like rest. Her shoulders slowly lowered, as if she'd been carrying invisible bags her entire life and had only now put them down. Jacob sat on one of the pews and patted the space beside him. You look like you're waiting for something bad to happen, he said with a grin. She sat next to him. I think I am. He laughed softly. Give it time. The habit fades. I'm not used to quiet, she admitted. Neither were we. They sat together, watching the others. After a moment, she asked, So, this is it forever? He tilted his head. Does that scare you? She thought about it. Surprisingly, no, it didn't. What scared her before was the idea of endless emptiness, loneliness, or worse, the loop she had been trapped in. But this didn't feel endless. It felt present, like only the moment mattered. Still, something inside her stayed, a familiar feeling, restlessness, purpose. She frowned slightly. Is it strange that I still feel like I should be doing something? She asked. Jacob chuckled. You were a pastor for over a decade. Of course you feel that way. I keep expecting someone to need me. And if they don't... She hesitated. That's the problem. I don't know who I am if nobody needs me. He studied her for a second, then said gently, Maybe you get to find out. That idea both scared and excited her. Before she could reply, the chapel doors creaked open. A soft breeze drifted in. But it wasn't like normal wind. It shimmered slightly, like light moving through water. Eliza felt it pass through her. Warm. Then, a sound. Faint. Far away. A bell. Her heart jumped violently. Her entire body stiffened. The church bell. The same tone from before. Low. Metallic. Echoing. Clang. Her breath caught. Not again. Please not again. Memories of the fog, the graves, the darkness, the thing on the stays. All of it slammed back at once. She stood up so fast the pew scraped loudly. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Everyone else seemed calm. Mrs. Carter looked up. "Hey, what? Honey." "The bell." They exchanged confused glances. "I didn't hear anything," Jacob said. But Eliza heard it again. Clang. Fainter this time. Like it was coming from very far away. Or very deep. Her chest tightened. "What if it followed me?" she muttered. "What if that thing—" "Hey!" Jacob said softly, standing. "Look at me." She forced herself to meet his eyes. "You're safe," he said firmly. "Nothing from there can follow you here." "But I hear it." "Then maybe it isn't what you think." Another clang, softer, almost like an echo of a memory. She closed her eyes, forced herself to breathe. Think. Back there, the bell rang when something changed. When truth surfaced. When she remembered. So what would it mean here? This place wasn't built on denial. There was nothing for a monster to feed on. So why? Her eyes opened slowly. Understanding dawning. "It's not a warning," she whispered. Jacob tilted his head. "What?" "It's not danger." Another faint clang, but now it didn't sound threatening. It sounded gentle, like a call, like Sunday morning service starting, like invitation. Her fear eased slightly. "I think," she said slowly, "I think it's calling me." "To what?" "I don't know yet." They stepped outside together. The others followed curiously. The sky was still bright, the fields still endless. But now, far in the distance, beyond the hills, there was something new, a soft golden glow rising upward like dawn breaking behind mountains. Eliza had never noticed it before. Or maybe it hadn't been there. "What is that place?" she asked quietly. Mrs. Carter smiled knowingly. "Some of us call it the next step." "The next step?" "Not everyone stays here forever," Jacob explained. "Some souls move on when they're ready." "Move on where?" He shrugged. "Further, closer, deeper, depends how you see it." Her heart pounded slowly. "Not fear, anticipation." "You mean, this isn't the final stop?" "Nothing ever really ends," Mrs. Carter said gently. "It just changes." The bell rang again. Soft, warm, pulling. And for the first time, she didn't feel scared of it. It felt like when God used to call her into ministry years ago. That quiet nudge, that whisper, "There's more for you." She had followed it then. Maybe she was meant to follow it again. But leaving this place so soon, leaving them, she looked around. At the chapel, at her people, her family. Mrs. Carter squeezed her hand. "You're already thinking about it, aren't you?" Eliza laughed weakly. "Is it that obvious? You've never been the type to sit still for long." "I just got here." "And already you're being called forward," Jacob said with a grin. "Sounds like you." She looked toward the distant glow again. Something inside her stayed. The same feeling she used to get before big decisions. Before accepting the church job. Before her first sermon. Before every leap of faith. Maybe death wasn't the end of growth. Maybe the soul kept learning. Kept moving. Forever. And maybe that was beautiful. She exhaled slowly. "I think, when the time comes." "I'll go," she said softly. Mrs. Carter smiled. "We know." "But not yet," Eliza added quickly. They laughed. "Not yet," Jacob agreed. The bell didn't ring again. It didn't need to, because now she understood. It wasn't calling her back. It was calling her forward. And for the first time in her existence, Eliza wasn't afraid of what came next. The days, if they could still be called days, passed without wait. Eliza stopped trying to measure time. There were no clocks inside the chapel, no sunrise alarms, no late-night exhaustion. Light simply shifted gently, like breathing, sometimes golden and warm, sometimes cool and silver, but never dark, never heavy. And strangely, she didn't miss sleep, or hunger, or any of the small aches that used to define being human. Instead, there was a steady sense of presence, like every moment was enough by itself, She spent what felt like hours walking through the field with Emily, listening to stories that didn't quite make sense but didn't need to. She helped Mrs. Carter tend to flowers that grew impossibly fast and never wilted. She sat by the chapel steps with Jacob talking about music and old memories, laughing over things that once felt tragic. Up here, pain had edges smoothed down, not erased, just softened, like looking back at storms from the safety of a window. Sometimes she even spoke to new arrivals, souls who appeared quietly at the edge of the field, confused and blinking like she had been. The first time it happened, she froze. A man stood near the hill, staring at his hands. I was just in a hospital, he kept muttering. This doesn't make sense. Eliza recognized that look instantly. Shock, denial, fear. The same look she had worn in the ruined church. Without thinking, she walked to him. Hey, she said gently. He looked up. Where am I? She smiled softly. You're safe. The words came naturally, warm, certain, the exact way she used to speak to grieving families. But now she finally understood what she was promising. He started crying. She stayed with him until he calmed down, explained slowly, told him he wasn't alone. And when Mrs. Carter and the others joined them, welcoming him with smiles, Eliza felt something glow inside her chest. Not duty, not obligation, something lighter, joy. She realized she wasn't working. She was simply helping, because she wanted to, because she could, not because it was her responsibility to save everyone. For the first time, caring didn't feel heavy. It felt free. Later, she sat alone on the chapel steps watching the horizon. That distant golden glow was brighter now, still far, but clearer, like a second sunrise waiting beyond the hills. She tilted her head slightly. Still calling me, "Ho," she murmured, talking to the light again. Jacob dropped down beside her. Maybe. You've been staring at it a lot lately. I know. He followed her gaze. It gets brighter when you grow, you know. She looked at him. Grow. Yeah. Let go of things. Forgive yourself. Accept more. The light responds. That's strangely poetic. He shrugged. Afterlife does that to you. She smiled, but her chest tightened slightly, because he was right. Something inside her was shifting, like roots loosening from soil. She wasn't clinging to the chapel as hard anymore, or even to this place. She loved it, but she didn't feel tied down. Not like before. Do you ever think about going? She asked quietly. Jacob considered. Sometimes. What stops you? He smiled gently. I'm not done enjoying this yet. She nodded. That made sense. There was no rush here, no deadlines, no fear of missing out, just readiness. And she wasn't sure she was ready. Not quite. That night, or what felt like night, she walked inside the chapel alone. Candles flickered softly even though no one had lit them. She walked down the aisle slowly, hands brushing the pews, thinking about everything. Her life, her death, the loop, the darkness, the bell, the light. It felt like several lifetimes packed into one. She stopped at the altar. 4 years. This had been where she stood to preach, to guide others, to pray for them. Now there was nothing to preach, nothing to fix, nothing to fight, just stillness. She folded her hands anyway, out of habit. God, she whispered softly, not begging, not desperate, just talking. Thank you. No grand speech, no long prayer, just that. Thank you for the life, for the lessons, even for the pain, because without it, she wouldn't have learned how to let go. A soft breeze moved through the chapel. The candles flickered brighter for a moment, and faintly, very faintly, she heard it again. The bell, not loud, not frightening, just a single gentle tone. Clang. Her heart didn't race this time. It warmed, like hearing an old friend call your name. She smiled. Not yet, she whispered. The sound faded, like it understood, like it was patient. She stepped outside again. The horizon glow shimmered softly, waiting, not chasing, not forcing, just there. And for the first time, Eliza realized something beautiful. Death hadn't taken her home. It had given her freedom. Freedom from fear. from guilt, from the weight she used to carry. And when she finally walked toward that light, it wouldn't be because she was running away. It would be because she was ready to grow again. She sat on the chapel steps, hugging her knees, watching the endless sky, smiling softly, at peace, knowing that whenever the next bell rang, she would answer it. If there had been a clock anywhere in that world, Eliza was certain it would have stopped ticking. Nothing rushed here. Nothing chased tomorrow. Moments didn't pile up into stress the way they used to. They simply existed. Full. Complete. Enough. And for a long while, that was exactly what she needed. She helped new souls when they arrived. She laughed with Mrs. Carter in the gardens. She listened to Jacob play old hymns on the chapel piano, except now he never missed a note. She watched Emily run through fields that had no end. Sometimes she told stories. Sometimes she just sat quietly and listened to the wind move through the grass. And slowly, gently, something inside her healed. Not the sharp kind of healing. Not dramatic. Just soft, like ice melting under sunlight. The guilt faded first. The memory of dying alone stopped hurting. It became just a fact. Something that had happened, not something that defined her. Then the fear faded. The old fear of death, of endings, of losing people. She understood now. Nothing was really lost. It only changed shape, like water becoming mist. Still there, just different. And finally, the last thing loosened its grip. Her attachment to the chapel, to St. Matthew's, to the title pastor. For so long, that word had been her identity. Pastor Eliza, leader, caretaker, the strong one. But here, no one needed saving. No one needed sermons. They were already whole, which meant she didn't have to be strong anymore. She could just be Eliza. And strangely, that felt lighter than anything. One quiet afternoon, she found herself walking alone toward the hill. The same hill where she had first arrived. Grass swaying softly around her legs. The sky wide and endless above. And there it was again. The glow. But it wasn't distant anymore. It was closer. Much closer. Not across the horizon. Just beyond the next rise. Like dawn waiting behind the curtain. Her heart beat slowly. Calmly. She didn't feel nervous. Didn't feel unsure. Just aware. Like when you know a chapter of a book is ending. Not sad. Just complete. Footsteps sounded behind her. She turned. Mrs. Carter, Jacob, Emily, and many others walking toward her, smiling. Of course they knew. You're going, aren't you? Jacob asked gently. She nodded. I think so. No bell this time, he teased softly. She smiled. I don't think I need one anymore. Mrs. Carter stepped forward and hugged her tight. You always were stubborn, she said warmly. Could never sit still. Eliza laughed. Guess some things don't change. You'll be all right, Mrs. Carter said. I know. And she did. That was a difference. Before, stepping into the unknown meant terror. Now, it felt like trust. Emily ran up and wrapped her arms around Eliza's waist. Will we see you again? She asked. Eliza knelt down, brushing hair from her face. I think, she said softly, where we're going, we're never really apart. Emily considered that, then nodded like it made perfect sense. Kids always understood things adults complicated. One by one, they hugged her, not goodbye hugs, not forever hugs, just warm ones, like, see you when we see you. When they stepped back, Eliza turned toward the hill again. The glow was stronger now, soft gold, almost like sunlight through stained glass. It reminded her of Sunday mornings, of hope, of new beginnings. Funny, she thought, all her life she had helped people prepare for heaven, and now she realized this whole journey had just been preparation to the church, the loop, the fear, the letting go, this place, all steps, all lessons. She wasn't ending. She was continuing, just deeper. She took her first step forward. The grass felt warm beneath her feet. Second step, the air shimmered slightly. Third step, the world behind her grew softer, like a painting fading. But she didn't look back. She didn't need to, because nothing behind her was unfinished anymore. For the first time in her existence, there were no regrets, no what ifs, No, I should have. Just gratitude. She reached the top of the hill. The light waited on the other side. Bright, endless, but gentle, not blinding, inviting, like an open door. She paused only once, placed a hand over her heart, and whispered softly, "Thank you for letting me go home." Not the old home, not the house, not the church. Something bigger, something she didn't even have a word for. Then she stepped forward. The light wrapped around her, warm, weightless, and as her form dissolved into it, there was no fear, no pain, only peace, like a drop of water returning to the ocean, like a note returning to music, like a soul finally remembering where it came from. And somewhere, far away, a single bell rang, soft, clear, beautiful, not a warning, not an ending, just a beginning,